Yo, what's going on guys, it's Cynical and welcome back to another episode of Sea Salt Snippets. Man, it feels good to say that because it really has been a hot minute since we last banged out one of these videos. Now, really quickly, just for the people that might be unaware, Sea Salt Snippets is a video series where we sit down and talk about 3 smaller pieces of gaming news. Most of the time it revolves around Kingdom Hearts, but of course, here and there we do talk about other smaller things as well. Today for you guys we've got some spicy stuff to talk about, so without further ado, let's just dive straight into it. So first up today, Gameware, which is an Austrian game retailer site, ended up actually putting a release date onto the Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory listing for a November 13th, 2020 release. You guys should probably know how this goes. Sometimes different retailers accidentally put out different release dates, and a lot of the time they aren't actually the correct release dates. Sometimes this can actually just be a mistake. These can also be placeholder dates, although November 13th, I will say, is a strange placeholder date. I have seen a few strange ones in my time of doing this though, so never put that past them. Other times, and we have seen this in the past before, some sites actually use it to garner attention. However though, there is always that possibility that a certain retailer may actually already know the release date for a currently slated game and accidentally actually add it to their database for public display. Now when we look at the release date of November 13th, it's actually a very viable release date for that of the game, considering the fact that November is generally when all of these sort of major releases tend to release for each year. We do know that though, specifically for November 2020, it's a pretty damn busy month with 2 pretty big heavy hitters coming out in that month, with Cyberpunk 2077 releasing on November 19th and Assassin's Creed Valhalla releasing on November 17th. November 13th is the week prior to that on the Friday, so actually when we look at it, November 13th would probably be a smart date to actually release Melody of Memory, considering it is 1 week out from those 2 major releases. It's definitely a smart business choice to release Kingdom Hearts either before the release of specifically looking at Cyberpunk as well as of course Assassin's Creed. Personally, I was actually leaning more towards December being the release month for Melody of Memory, although this game doesn't really need overly too much promotion per se, and I really hope that we don't get overly too much promotion for this game, seeing as Kingdom Hearts 3's promotion was a little bit scuffed in areas in the sense that Square in some cases did end up showing maybe a little bit too much. I'm specifically looking at you, Final Battle trailer. But if December is going to be the release month for Melody of Memory, then that actually gives Square plenty of time to actually further promote this game. To be fair, I'm really only expecting maybe 1 or 2 trailers at the absolute most for Melody of Memory. I think there's probably going to be 2. I'm betting on there actually being another trailer next month in September for that of the digital show of the Tokyo Game Show. That will probably be the big thick boy trailer for Melody of Memory, just showing us more of the game and of course that release date, and then 1 more final trailer shortly before the game releases. But again, there just doesn't really need to be too much promotion for this, seeing as it is not a full-blown Kingdom Hearts title, but more of a side title. Keeping in mind, of course, it is still canon and very important to that of the story. It is the continuation after KH3, but again, it's not a full-blown KH game. Now, one thing to keep in mind though about Gameware is they actually did have a Grand Theft Auto 6 listing at the start of this year, which to this day is not available to actually view. So I am a little bit iffy with the legitimacy behind if we do actually get these random release dates that pop up on certain different listings specifically for this website. It makes me seem very, very skeptical. Just to see something like Grand Theft Auto 6 pop up, while that is definitely possible, I don't think we'll be seeing GTA 6 for quite some time. However though, there is always that possibility of a retailer accidentally sending through the release date onto public display before the official announcement, but always just keep in mind, take this stuff with a grain of salt. The other thing that I have been seeing people talk about is the actual price that's on this listing. It's coming in at 63 euros, which it's a little bit up there, to be fair. That comes in around about like 70 odd US dollars, and while I do know that like some games over there are more priced due to tax and whatnot, this could again just be some type of placeholder price. The price thing is also another discussion point though too. Will this be a full price title, considering that again it's not a full-blown Kingdom Hearts title? in the sense of the traditional gameplay experience. Now, just because it's not following through with the traditional gameplay experience, that's not to say that there is a lot of content packed into this package. We do know that there is over 140 songs in this game, and that there are multiple missions. There are, of course, a multitude of different cutscenes that will be included to progress the story that is running within KH3's engine, the Unreal Engine 4. So this could very well still be a full-priced title. I was kind of maybe expecting maybe a 50 USD price point, but again, there is always that possibility of it actually coming in at the full price mark. Next up, the Kingdom Hearts modding scene just continues to impress and impress and impress and impress. You guys know that I'm a pretty big fan for the Kingdom Hearts modding scene, just considering the fact that when we do see custom-made content and mods for that of the Kingdom Hearts games, it takes me back just because not only this is obviously my favorite franchise, but more so, the modding scene is so impressive considering that this is a game that still to this day is bound to that of emulators. And what some of these people are doing in the community to actually make custom content for the game is just so damn impressive considering that it really isn't any easy task to do so. Recently, Zanimo and his team, these guys are responsible for that of the OpenKH program, which makes stuff like Kingdom Hearts modding and creating custom content for more so Kingdom Hearts 2 a lot easier nowadays with the ease of access towards KH2's files, considering that, of course, again, it's all emulator based, have finally figured out how to actually make custom maps and import them into KH2. Now, I specifically do want to shout out Zanimo as well as Disguster, Tom K, and Vlad. These guys have been doing some just incredible work in the mod scene recently with the whole use of OpenKH, the tool that they have been working on to, of course, make all of this happen. And also just keeping in mind, this tool is open source, so anyone is actually welcome to download it and dip into a bit of this stuff for themselves if, of course, they know what they're doing. Although I say it's been made easier these days, you still have to have a little bit of knowledge around this field of expertise. But yes, custom maps in KH2. This right here is Sora within the Kingdom Hearts 1 rendition of Hollow Bastion. This was, of course, uploaded by Vlad, saying KH2 beta screenshot. Of course, this is a little reference to the beta trailer from, I believe, E3 2005 for Kingdom Hearts 2. Of course, we got to see Hollow Bastion from KH1 in that trailer. We were talking about this in the facts video recently, but it seemed like at some stage Square were actually planning on to keep the original Hollow Bastion before ultimately deciding to actually make it into a different looking world due to the world being restored, being that of course, Radiant Garden. But super nostalgic to actually see something like that. Another really cool pic right here is Sora standing in Traverse Town. They managed to actually import Traverse Town from Kingdom Hearts 1 and put it into that of Kingdom Hearts 2. We also have a video here from Disguster, which is showing us Sora running around in Destiny Islands from KH1 in KH2. Some absolutely incredible stuff, and also keeping in mind stuff like collision and whatnot is all here. Super impressive. The potential for this kind of thing is really just limitless. We could get to a point where we truly do have custom-made content for KH2, like more so through and through actual custom-made maps, not just ones imported from other Kingdom Hearts games. Well, that is really cool, and yes, I would definitely like to see all of the Kingdom Hearts worlds playable in KH2. Same can also be said for like BBS's worlds in KH2. To actually see just full-on custom maps would be incredible, and that potential is most certainly here. With of course seeing other people in the community over the past couple of years making custom content for KH2 in the ways of new playable characters, new movesets and whatnot, this is most certainly the next step towards custom content for KH. So please, 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 if you guys are interested in this kind of stuff, I'm going to leave the links to Zanimo, Disguster, Tom, as well as Vlad in the description down below. They most certainly deserve the attention. And the final thing that I wanted to talk about today was actually Kingdom Hearts Dark Road, and whether or not this game is actually going to be simultaneous, meaning in the sense of story updates. Is it going to be a case of Japan receiving the story updates first, and then of course the rest of the world receiving them afterwards? Well, of course we got the second update for Kingdom Hearts Dark Road last week, and this of course progresses the story, adds an additional 40 missions, I believe, into the game. Now, unfortunately, Japan actually ended up receiving this first towards the end of July. So we ended up receiving this about like 2 weeks later. However though, what is important to keep in mind is it was actually originally slated that the global version of the game was actually meant to receive the update on the same day that Japan did. There was actually a notice about this within the Dark Road notice board. Essentially, the update was scheduled for the end of July, pretty much the same time as Japan. However, due to some circumstances, this didn't end up happening and the update got delayed for global. Now, the reception towards this, you can imagine, was not really that great, considering that the game actually did end up releasing simultaneously for both the Japanese and global version, which was an extremely good sign to see, just considering the fact that Union Cross has always been so far behind for the global version in comparison to that of the Japanese version. The Japanese version has always been about 3 to 4 months ahead of that of the global, and it makes it just extremely annoying when there is a massive story update that comes out. Most global people actually want to experience it for themselves, and also just that feeling of collectively all experiencing the next story update at the same time, rather than having to wait for translations. It's just a little bit annoying. So with actually seeing that Dark Road ended up releasing simultaneously, it gave us hope that, of course, in the sense of these story updates, they'd be rolling out at the exact same time for both Japan and the global version. With them actually sending out that notice about how the update was actually delayed due to some circumstances, it makes me think that yes, going forward, for the future episodes that will be added on a sort of regular basis, they will hopefully, fingers crossed, will be simultaneous for both versions. Of course, only time will tell. But however guys, that is all for today's episode of Sea Salt Snippets. It's fantastic to be doing this series once again, just allowing us to talk about some small stuff going on within the KH community. In the comment section down below guys, please let me know your thoughts and opinions. I'm Cynical, hopefully having a fantastic day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.